Zapletal, and I'm visiting with International Polka Association Hall of Fame member Carl Finch from the Grammy Award-winning group Brave Combo. Carl, how are you doing?
Hey, Danny. My friend Danny Zapletal. I'm doing well. I'm in I'm hunkered down in my polka bunker with all my dogs and cats and doing lots of stuff.
Who inspired you in polka music?
No, none of my family was very musical. Well, you'll like this. My brother took trumpet lessons. He played trumpet in junior high, played all the way through high school. And then when I started, I started on his old cornet. So I think our band program, I grew up in Texarkana. I think our band program, we started in the 4th grade, and I started on cornet, briefly went to trumpet, and then the band director made me play French horn. But other than that, not much. I don't want to say musical talent, but nobody was very driven musically in my family growing up, except me. Well, I didn't grow up listening to polka music at all, as I think you probably know. A friend of mine had some polka 8-tracks in his dad's car when we would drive around when I was in high school. But they were just like Lawrence Welk and Bob Ralston organ music. Nonetheless, I loved the sound of the polka, and I remember driving around with my friend. His name was Cliff. We would drive around Texarkana and listen to Lawrence Welk and Bob Ralston and use that as the soundtrack to our town. And so we would get a kick out of that. But I think there was a sound that was part of my organic makeup. Because I remember when the Sir Douglas Quintet hit, the Beatles had their hit, She's a Woman, and the emphasis was on that gank, 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 gang, that upbeat. There was something about that. And that song, Bumblebee. Oh, that was a big hit when I was a kid by a British band called the Searchers. And it was actually a polka. And so I knew there was a sound there that I really could relate to, and that really turned me on. But I didn't really discover polka music per se until I stumbled into a Woolworth store. I was like in my mid-20s and found a bunch of cutout polka records on sale. And the jackets intrigued me. So I bought a whole bunch of them and then took them home. I bought like 25 to 50, a bunch. And because they were really cheap, like $1 each, I think, maybe 6 for $5 even. And so I started listening to this, and it wasn't like any music that I'd paid any attention to. Where I grew up, there was no polka awareness at all. So a total baby when it came to this. I could be completely molded without any influence from culture or family. Like, imagine that. No background in this. Anyway, so I bought these records, and at first I think there was a lot of novelty appeal, and then before long, though, man, some of the people stood out, and I started really digging the music and thinking this should be more popular in the mainstream. Some of the artists that I remember, there's a guy named Larry Chesky, who was a Polish big band star from the 50s and 60s. There were a couple of albums by someone named Andrew Walter, and he was a Scandinavian accordionist. I remember one of those albums was Scandinavian dance music. And a lot of this wasn't stuff from Texas. It was stuff from other regions. There was some Polish stuff and some, Kenny Bass and the Polka Poppers. That was Slovenian style, like that Frank Yankovic style. That was just the beginning of an avalanche. And then once I got turned on to it, I couldn't stop looking for it.
Carl, what was the name of Brave Combo's first recording?
Oh, yeah, I remember. Brave Combo's first recording was a double 7-inch, 45 RPM EP. It was 2 records, and it was called Polka Mania. Our sound was, we didn't really sound like other polka bands because we had kind of a pared down sound, but there was something in our heads that we knew we were trying to achieve. But as I listen to it now, it's really pretty good. It's just no real solid sense of direction, just kind of early Brave Combo.
Do you remember the original members of Brave Combo?
Yeah, of course. The original members of Brave Combo are myself on keyboard and accordion, and Tim Walsh on woodwinds, and Dave Cameron on drums, and Lyle Atkinson on bass, and he's playing with the band now.
What was your favorite area or place to play?
Wow, there are so many. There have been so many. I really don't have a favorite area. There's really cool stuff going on everywhere. And we've been tremendously lucky to find an audience, predictable places, but also in strange, remote places. And, not just in this country, but overseas. And there's no place like Texas, right? Let's give a plug for Texas. The festivals like your festival and West Fest, and those are hard to beat and hard to compare to a lot of things going on elsewhere. But, there are great things about playing in Minnesota. There are great things about playing in New York and California. And it's just kind of hard to narrow it down. I guess, why don't we do another show just about venues? And, we can take it from there. But, I'll think more about this one, and let's do a follow-up. Although I will say, it's kind of hard to talk about some of this stuff because some of it's so outrageous, it can only sound like bragging, even just to tell the story. But, a few things stand out. When we marched in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, of course, that stands out. We played the 200th episode party for The Simpsons in Hollywood at the House of Blues. That stands out. When we were in Germany one time, we played in Berlin, East Berlin. Of course, they were united at that point, but it was still East Berlin. And we played a polka festival there, and we were headlining the thing. And the band who opened for us came on with Do Something Different. So that really blew my mind. But the question was places to play. Everything kind of boils down to your experience there, because some of the places that I've had the most fun, for sure, were some of the funkiest, out-of-the-way places with not many people showing up. And some of those stand out as some of the best gigs, maybe musically, because when you realize that you've lost one part of the battle, you don't care as much, and you wind up winning the musical side of the battle for sure. I think you can relate to that.
Absolutely. I think we've all been there. Carl, who in Brave Combo has played with you the longest?
Well, for sure, it's Jeff Barnes. He joined the band in 1983. The band was only 4 years old then and played as a full-time member in the band until well into this decade. And then he left to do his own thing and gave up his ownership of his part of the band. But then we started bringing him back because he already knew all the songs. He already knew all the hard ones, and then he off and on, and in the last couple of years mainly on, but off and on for several years after that. So then after that, Danny, who joined in 1990s something, and has been with Brave Combo ever since, and then Alan shortly after that. So these are long haulers. We're all long haulers. You're a long hauler.
Carl, what are some of your favorite tunes that you've played and recorded?
My favorite songs to play are songs that fit whatever situation we're in. Like if we're doing the Polka Fest, the National Polka Fest, we have a way of playing and certain songs. We learned 7 Steps polka from playing the Texas Czech festivals. And we throw in this little salsa section in the middle that fits the polka groove perfectly if you just plow on through. Or if you don't plow on through, if we're doing it and you decide to go into this salsa thing. But I got to say, there have been times when we've been looking down on 500 people at one time on the dance floor doing that. And that's my favorite thing to play, to sync up with an audience, and especially with a song that's really a cool song. I love the chicken dance. I know you love the chicken dance. All polka bands in the United States love the chicken dance. It's been part of our way to make money for decades now. But often it's not everyone's favorite song to play from a musician's point of view. We still, get excited about the audience's response. And, we play it in a minor key and try to give it a little extra edge to get some of the kids involved. But, like if we do a Polish event, the violins play for me. If people in the audience know this song and they're already emotionally responding to it. If we play a Tejano event, without a doubt, you bring out some Tone de la Rosa and play a Totonilko, which is as you guys know, just stands on its own. It's just a great song. There's never a bad time to play that song. So, that sort of changes from situation to situation.
Do you have any advice for new musicians or younger musicians getting started in polka music?
I guess I'm in that position occasionally. But if I were giving advice to a young musician in the polka field specifically, I'd say, follow your passion. And I don't mean by that, think about what you'd like to be and go for that. That's not what I mean. I mean, figure out what really turns you on first. and then create something out of that. Like, don't go for something for any reason other than you are just driven to do it. So, and how to apply that to polka specifically, I would just say stay true to what your thing is, and then really listen and really work and, woodshed, become great at your instrument, the best you can be at your instrument. And if you're a singer, listen to your intonation. If you're horn players, listen to your intonation. If you're anybody, if you're singing or playing, listen to that intonation. And if you're the rhythm section, get that bass player and that drummer in the groove, because, those basic musical elements, get those things out of the way and play up to your level of what you can do, and then keep growing, keep getting better. But just don't play any sloppy shows. Rehearse the songs, get them tight, and then rehearse some more, and then get them tighter. So, combine all these difficult elements. And I know that young people really like to work really, really hard and achieve lofty goals. I wish them the best.
Carl, what do you think sets you apart in polka music?
I think the main thing that sets Brave Combo apart from other polka bands is we know a whole community of polka bands that don't apply to this, but by far the large percentage of the polka community and polka musicians grew up with polka. And they were not only influenced by the music, they were influenced by the culture and by all that stands for. So that creates a different kind of person. For Brave Combo, I didn't really hear polka seriously till I was in my mid-20s or older, a little bit older. So I came to this with this clean slate of having no kind of being influenced at all by anything. I just responded to the music, and I just wondered, the main thing is I wondered why polka music, why it was the musical joke to the mainstream, and why it was always the music that people made fun of. And I had a hard time wrapping my head around that because I was loving the music more and more. See, I didn't have any of these attachments. I was just listening to the music. I didn't even care if it was Czech or Polish or German, because my first polka record collection was such a mishmash. I didn't know enough about anything other than I like this song, I don't like this song, I like this song, I don't like this song. So that created a band, and really, other than Bubba, nobody in Brave Combo had polka in his background. So it wasn't just me. We were all discovering a new music and only learning from the recordings that turned us on. And then ultimately, eventually, we started hearing specific things within each style or genre, each style of polka music, whether it was Czech or Polish or whatever. We started hearing the things that made each of those things unique and special. And then you can figure out the essence of it and then try to capture that essence. I think that's what we've worked the hardest at, is trying to connect with everybody in the polka world without coming from a certain place or a certain nationality or a certain point of view. And I think that what's been really good for us is we've always been able to just put the music at number one and just make that the most important thing. And in fact, it was the first important thing, the second, the third, and everything else that I think influences a lot of polka bands just never influenced us at all. We were always happy to learn about other cultures and where people came from. And I have hundreds of friends now that have taught me a lot of things. But for Brave Combo, we didn't come from that. So it just kind of evolved. And we wanted to be like a rock band. We wanted that to be the main thing going on. But so there's another long-winded answer.
How did you begin playing polka music?
Well, that's kind of the story in itself. I guess, I bought those records and put the band together, and we just all kind of learned how to play polka music. And, like I said, we were really motivated by our quest for the knowledge of why polka has been treated the way it's been treated, and to try to correct that, or try to bend things the other way, try to make people realize that you can be in a polka band, but you can rock it. You can twist it around, but it's still a polka. And really all you have to concentrate on if you're playing a Polish show, for instance, is give people something that they're comfortable with. Learn a few Polish songs, get those tempos right for whatever dancing might happen. But then if you get those things down, you can really mess with the songs, and you can do a lot if you can just get the groove good and you're playing your music well and you're throwing in some songs that people are familiar with, but you're doing your own thing. That's what's really important.
What is one of your craziest, most memorable band stories?
Well, The absolute craziest stories I probably shouldn't talk about. And there were a few of those. But, and then when I start thinking about that next level, the stories you can actually tell people about, man, oh, okay. You know, if I start telling you things that are too crazy, it just sounds like bragging. And I don't mean it to be that way. We played in London one time, and we were actually opening for Flaco Jimenez at a club called the Town and Country, which was a big dance club, but they specialized in roots music. So it was a perfect place for us and Flaco. So we flew in that day, but it was early enough that I don't even know if we went to the hotel. We went to the venue, though, and I do remember huge pan of French fries, and we were all really hungry, and we were diving into those French fries. The people showed up, great crowd. It was a big place. Was full, and Flaco was already kind of a legend with the roots people over there anyway. And I don't know if Texas Tornadoes were, they must have been happening already. Anyway, he was a big deal if you followed that kind of folk music. So we played our show and went over shockingly well. And we were backstage, patting each other on the back and finding it hard to believe where we were, and that actually just went over. And then we got a note that someone wanted to meet with us, and so we said sure. And a woman from Japan walked in, and she was a talent scout sent to London to listen to us. And then she was going to go to Ireland and hear Enya. Then she was going to go to Bulgaria to hear one of those Bulgarian women's choruses. But our first stop was London to hear us. And right there on the spot, she invited us to a trip to Japan. So if you can imagine how big our heads were at that point, knew we were onto something. So anyway, that's just kind of, I remember one time when we opened the show for the Red Hot Chili Peppers in Kansas City, and we were backstage and just hanging out waiting for the show, and then they showed up and we were actually in their dressing room.
Carl, that is funny. What is the greatest achievement in your polka career?
Well, Danny, I'll tell you what. I think I'm old enough to have a lot of perspective, and I'm still taking polka apart and examining the magic that is polka, which I absolutely believe in as strongly as I ever did, and probably more because I can see the proof more. I mean, I can look at awards that people have given us, and that kind of recognition is beyond fantastic, and it does galvanize your feelings and propels you to, keep going if the public's going to be involved at all. Because you certainly want people to appreciate what you're doing and to show up when you play. But when I look at it in the big picture, and I think the Hall of Fame award with the IPA really kind of helped me focus this, that what I think Brave Combo did, and somewhat inadvertently, was we did, and we continue to do, I hope, we turn a lot of non-polka people into polka people. And that doesn't necessarily mean they start going to festivals, but it definitely opens their eyes to other kinds of music and to try to reject the attitudes of the people before them. I think I've seen proof of this, and I hope that we've been able to influence other bands in a way that, doesn't just make them want to rock it out, but to examine what the core beauty of the music is and what it's about and all those elements that are involved. And when you start layering all of these elements, you create a music that goes beyond a label, and it just becomes a music that hopefully anyone could like. So I think that's where we've made some real contributions that I'm the happiest with. And that all came together for me one night in Cleveland. We were playing the Beachland Ballroom, which used to be the Croatian Hall. And they still have all these old paintings up on the wall from the original location. I mean, the original, when it was Croatian Hall. And we play there regularly. Well, we did before the virus hit, but it's a regular place for Brave Combo. If it's still happening when this is over with, we'll be back there. We were told by more than one person that we brought in the Polish and the Slovenian audiences. And indeed, for that show, we draw heavily from both sides. And we're told that this was something that's hard to do. And I think it's because we just play the songs, we don't really beat anybody over the head with any particular angle or anything like that. And so I think I realized that maybe we were doing this on a larger scale if anybody cares to pay attention. So right now, at this point in my life, I think that's it.
I was visiting with Alfred Vraggio, another member of the International Polka Association Hall of Fame. And we were talking about how fortunate we are in the state of Texas to have such great festivals that we get to play for. The National Polka Festival, Westfest, Worstfest, Oktoberfest. There's so many festivals in the state, and it's amazing how many younger people attend our events. Do you see this when you travel out of state in other countries, when Brave Combo is playing at other festivals?
When we play someplace else, if it's a festival or whatever, we're just kind of in and out. And there's lots of things around the country that we have done regularly, annually, and some we continue to do annually around the country. But we only see what we see. I do know that around Chicago, there's stuff going on constantly. It's easy to find events here and there. But, Texas is a huge state. There's a lot going on, and I think a lot more than in some places, especially when the fall hits. And, I can't compare it in terms of numbers. I know that a great day at the Sokol at Ennis or a great night in the Pavilion at West or in the big hall at Worstfest, you pack that place. That's a lot of people. But what I do know is there aren't many events that rival those great nights. For instance, Westfest or Ennis, the National Polka Festival. We only see what we see, but I would like to know numbers. Like we used to play the polka fireworks at Seven Springs in Pennsylvania for the Blazonczyk family. We did that several times, but we only knew what we saw. It always looked like it was a pretty great night. But, I hear stories sometimes about the dances where just thousands of people were showing up on a regular basis, or like up in Chicago that they would have these Friday and Saturday and Sunday afternoon dances, and they were packed every weekend. So there's a nostalgia that goes back, and I'm sure that a lot of people in Texas feel that about some of the early days. But I do get a sense that it's pretty healthy here. And I know that all the people I know that are involved in promoting the festivals, everybody takes it really seriously. And from as far as what we can see, generally, this is a healthy state. And the events that I've seen look to me like they're doing really well. I think you would probably agree.
Absolutely. Carl, what made you choose polka music over other genres of music?
I didn't choose polka music. Polka music chose me. Kind of feels like that, but it just happened, and a lot of weird things were coming together in my life, and we're kind of going this way and that way, and polka was the core of what was going on, and it was a very personal thing for me, very personal. Before I met any of you guys, I think that's it. I stumbled on it, and it spoke to me, and the rest is history.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with me. Brave Combo has been a complete game changer in the field of polka music. You guys truly started your own genre of polka music, and it's been incredible. It's been a great run. I hope you guys have many more years to go, and we look forward to seeing you at your next gig. Thank you, Carl, and God bless you.
Well, thank you, Danny. It's been a pleasure, and I've been long-winded enough. I'd hate to try to add any more, but I do have to say just how much I admire you and your family and your community in particular for keeping polka music alive and keeping it exciting. And what I witness within the Texas polka scene right now is, I know for a fact there's been some new birth and some new growth, and I certainly hope that Brave Combo has contributed something positive to all of this new sprouting that we see. But, I'm not going to embarrass you now, but, check and then some. We did a gig recently together, and I told you then, this was before we did this, I told you then that you guys really amazed me. And, I know that from your point of view on the stage, it might be just another night, but, you guys sound great. The band is so tight, and y'all are an example of what I'm talking about, Exactly. It's always a pleasure to share the stage with you. It's always fun to hang out with you, and it's always fun to have you there when we're playing. So good luck to you guys, and thank you again for having me, and happy holidays.